What other city in the world can bring so many memories to so many hearts? These sights stay vividly in the mind of all who come to see them, who come and come again. The balance of life was disturbed when Paris was in darkness, but now, little by little, she is shedding forth her light of sanity and warmth, grace, charm, and incredible variety. Where you like to linger depends mainly on your outlook on life, and of course your pocket. There's a feast of fashion in the Rue de la Paix. There's shelter from the glare under the arcades of the Rue de Rivoli. There's the handsome avenue leading to the opera itself, which shows Paris at her most cosmopolitan. And of course the great boulevards, which combine all these attributes in one straight line of beauty. But surely it's hard to compare anything with the Champs Elysee, more than a mile of it, a mile of symmetry and color. What wonderful parades it has seen. No city can boast a finer stage. By day, its shops, its hotels, its cafes are teeming with the life of a great West End. By night, its cinemas, its theaters, its terraces and clubs are an exciting fairyland of lights. There's intoxication in the air of these Elysian fields, which mix foliage fashion and the smell of lilac with the perfumes of Guerlain. How discordant were the tramp of German boots and the blare of Nazi bands in these surroundings. It was here that the tanks of General Leclerc won a victor's welcome as they rumbled through a mile of cheers, and the unknown soldier who sleeps under the Arc de Triomphe renews his symbolism as the flame flickers again. Opening out of the Place de l'Étoile are the 12 avenues bearing names that are great in the story of France. The most magnificent of all used to be fittingly called after the Bois de Boulogne, which lies green and cool at its side. Now it is proud in the name of Foch. These legendary figures from the top of the towers of Notre Dame Cathedral were the first to see the dawn of the Day of Liberation. From here, the whole city lies below them. Paris, unlike so many cities in Europe, has been miraculously preserved during the conflict of 6 years. Her wounds are slight and far from her heart. And there, winding through the city, the graceful meandering curves of the Seine. The arms of the city, a vessel in full sail on a silver sea, date back to the 12th century, and the merchant boatmen of the Seine had a gathering place there hundreds of years before that. Out to the southeast, just where the Marne flows into the Seine, is the great river centre of Charenton. This is where the river crossing of Paris really begins. And this is where bargees from every corner of the land gather of an evening to exchange their tales and pass on their different ways through the myriad canals of France. The next important stopping place for the barges is Bercy, a little further downstream. This is the great wine port of Paris. Here the children haven't a wide square to play in, but sand will mould the wildest dreams, even in the bottom of a boat. We could, of course, choose a much more business-like way of going into town, but who on a day like this could possibly want to leave the sparkling Seine with its shady bridges? Approaching the heart of the city, there stands the statue of Sainte Geneviève, patron saint of Paris and symbol of protection, who once again has seen the enemy hordes flee in disordered rout from the city, pursued by Allied might. It's quite an inspired place to have your lunch, and nobody could say that they don't seem to be enjoying it, since all the necessary ingredients are there. Be careful. What's he got there? What's the joke? A menu from the Tour d'Argent, one of the most famous restaurants in the world. But now don't get me wrong, the food and the prices refers to days gone by. To come, we may be allowed to dream of the past. The lucky ones have still a memory of the pressed duck and the choice wines. Do you remember those hats? They used to give you a ticket with the number of the duck on it, the 152nd thousandth. But today, these kitchens are bare, and all that remains the same is the scene below, which is a feast for any eyes. Under the shadow of another bridge, the Archbishop's Bridge, and there is the heart of Paris, the Ile de la Cité, and the staggering beauty of Notre Dame, as it stands in its sunlight and its shade, its walls still reverberating with the Te Deum of victory. On that day of liberation, the pigeons were disturbed by the sound of firing when France's great general came to give thanks. Our eyes follow their flight up to the incredibly beautiful rose window, which was cast in the 13th century. As we stand in the shadow of the great nave, it shines in a glorious glow of purple. Notre Dame de Paris. It has heard and seen the history of France. There are many who think that the Ile Saint-Louis is the quietest and loveliest part of Paris to live in. The dignity of these 17th century houses, with the soft flowing river beneath them, has attracted many famous thinkers and poets of the past. The island has, too, something of village life about it. The morning gossip and the little street of shops, where everybody knows everybody else. Paris is a city which never lacks her flowers, in winter or summer, in hard times or good. Even during the 4 years of occupation, when almost every other commodity seemed to get scarcer, exquisite blooms of all kinds could be bought on the Quai des Fleurs, as it's called. She seems to be preparing for something very special. Madame, excuse me, it must be your journette, or perhaps a dinner party, or... I see, well, perhaps it would be indiscreet to ask any more questions. But let's leave the romance of the Quai des Fleurs and plunge into the seething torrent of history. The towers of the Conciergerie rise solid and impenetrable. Many are the greatest days in this prison. Marie Antoinette, Robespierre, Danton, dark pangs of a new France. The island is joined to the mainland by the Pont Neuf. They call it the Pont Neuf, the new bridge, but really it's the oldest thing from the 16th century. Back in those days, stores were built on the projections, and it was here that Tabarin, the greatest of all French clowns, used to give his performances. Now this part of the city has indeed many attractions. You can watch the luck of the peaceful fishermen. Mind you, I've never seen them catch anything, but that doesn't deter them. Or you can just gaze at the beauty of the island. It lies gently enfolded in the two arms of the river. best known of all, perhaps, the minutes and the hours slip by as you browse to your heart's content and find a first edition or some other treasure which you'll cherish as long as you live. It's an inimitable description of a man's delight as he found one of his own school books marked with his own name buried on one of these very stalls. Nearby is something quite special to Paris. There's a riot of coloured feathers, every size and shape of dog and cat you ever saw, sports tackle of every kind, the burnished gold of the fish. There's nothing that the lover of pets and sport can't find on this famous quay.